Hi everyone, we're back with another modern video, and this time, as you can probably see, we're playing Blue-White Mill. So it's been a little while since I've played Mill on this channel. I think it was back earlier in the spring. But Mill is something I bring out when I'm kind of not really sure what else to play, and I feel like all three of my main formats, Modern, Legacy, and Pioneer, are in a bit of a lame duck period right now. So we're just kind of waiting on that BNR announcement. And in the meantime, let's just have some fun with Mill, try and mill people out. I haven't played Blue-White Mill before, but it has been putting up some results since MH3. I think the metagame shift that has depressed Yawgmoth a bit has been pretty helpful for Mill, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, I mean, Consigned to Memory is a nice, tricky new card that gives you a little bit of play against Endurance. And beyond that, I mean, okay, Orum's Chant is nice. You can stop Storm maybe, but basically the same sort of typical mill deal, you know, mill spells. I mean, Snapcaster here with Visions or Path lets you play a little bit of a grindier game. Preordain is a card I have not liked in mill historically. Spending mana to not really advance your main game plan is something that I wasn't usually a fan of, but it is seeing play in all of these lists, so I'm just trying to play the most stock version I can, since you know, that's where I think that you should start, and then if tweaking is going to happen, do that after you've played a stock version. All right, let's get into round number one. Okay, so we've got our hand here and we are on the draw. I do like this hand. I mean, we have a little bit of a non-bow with Tasha's and Visions of Beyond, but we have the ability to play Shelldock on turn 1, and then Crab, Delta Fetch, Preordain, or something like that. Get some mill going, maybe a turn 3 Tasha's. I'm definitely going to keep this. Our opponent leads on Island Preordain. Okay, so that could be a lot of things. Maybe it's the Mill Mirror, who knows? They went top bottom, drew a card. And we could go Island Crab to lead. Generally, you don't want to expose the crab to potential removal. However, in this case, if, you know, do we think that they are more likely to have like Counterspell or something like that on turn 2 versus like a different colored land and then remove the crab? I think I'd rather lead on the Shelldock. I think the likelihood of them having like an off-color land and then having removal is high enough that I don't necessarily mind if they just like hold up 2 mana and counter my crab. I'm relatively okay with that. So I'm going to put Snapcaster under the Shelldock. Potentially we can turn that into a mill spell later in the game if we need to. There was another, was it a crab? I think there was another crab, but that probably is going to represent less mill in the late game than this Snapcaster. So our opponent does play a Delta, plays another Preordain, so this could be Murktide potentially. 1 mana probably doesn't suggest a counterspell. I'm kind of feeling Murktide, although it could be like the Mill Mirror with Preordain, although I'm a little less confident of that now. Okay, so Archive Trap is not a bad pickup. So I'm going to go for Ruin Crab. We're going to play Delta. And then they think about whether they want to fetch here. So I'm going to fetch again here in response, because this way, if they have the removal and they just fetch for the removal, I get the full mill from both halves of it. So if they like fetch and then just hold removal, I'm in a little bit of a bind where I can't as easily fetch. The question here is, do I want to go for a white card or do I just want a basic? I can get a basic with my Field of Ruin, or I can get a not a basic. Yeah, I can get a basic. I can get the island, the plains with my Field of Ruin if I need it. So I'm just gonna go basic island, I think. So we mill 3 there, expressive iteration. Okay. So they have fetch to Steam Vents, suggesting that this is probably Murktide. Let me mill a little bit more. And then my second main, I'm going to play a Preordain. And now I could have gone for the Trap and then Visions. I think that's a little bit risky. I think I like both of these though. So Sanity, potentially a closer, although it's not necessarily going to resolve as easily. I will take another Crab. And then I'm going to trap them. I mean, potentially they have Spell Pierce, but I mean, they're also playing some number of Spell Snare now. Okay, good. So they didn't have it. And then they're going for a bolt on our face, really. That's an interesting choice. Surprised I mean, maybe they figure the Crab already got its value in, but I don't know about that. So Galvanic Discharge. Okay, so they play a Mountain. And what else? Murktide? Looks like they're playing a Murktide. So maybe they're just trying to clock us before we can clock them. They do have an 8/8 Murktide, and that is certainly a clock. We pick up the Fractured Sanity that we knew about. So here we have a couple different options. One is we could play a Crab, play a land, and then mill them 6. Milling them 6 would put them down to 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How much? They have 18. So we would then be able to Visions of Beyond. Potentially we then get to, you know, draw something useful off of that. We could just jam a Tasha's or a Fractured Sanity. So that's another option. I think we're unlikely to be dead next turn, but we do really need to be killing them in 2 turns here. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to need to resolve at least one of my big spells. So I think I like just resolving Atasha's here. So I'm going to play the Field of Ruin. And then if I just go for the Tasha's, I can save this Fractured Sanity for the cycle potentially. I mean, maybe they have Force of Negation here. That would be the potentially bad thing that could happen. They don't. We mill 14 cards and they've got 12 left, which is not that many cards. All right, so they're going to hit us for 8. Now the question is, do they have another bolt? They do have another bolt that they point at our face. But even Snap Bolt is not enough. Another Murktide could be 5 more. That could be 13. Okay, so another Murktide could actually kill us. Yeah, so they do have it, and they are going to get us here. So I mean, it did kind of require the second bolt. I don't think this isn't really something we could have played around. If we play like another Crab, I mean, we're still just dead either way. And we never had like a surgical to try and really play around Murktide or anything like that. So I mean, hey, they had the second Murktide and the second bolt, so they're gonna get game number 1 here. All right, so against Murktide, I mean, we definitely want to be surgicaling the actual Murktide if possible. So I do like surgical because then they're pretty vulnerable to Tasha's. What else do I like? Path, definitely. Ending, I think is, I mean, yeah, I think ending is not so good. Consign, I think I'm not so worried about. Soul Guide could keep their graveyard down a little bit. I'm gonna cut probably a Jace, maybe a Preordain. So, and yeah, I mean, Soul Guide can keep their graveyard down a little bit, which can potentially turn off the ability to cast a Murktide. But I think I'm not going to go with that. I mean, I think I'd rather try and attack it with like surgical on the Murktide. And then we also just have Path, so that's nice too. All right, I'm going to definitely keep this. So here we have turn 1 Crab, turn 2 Crab Fetch, which is pretty strong. So we're going to play our Sink into Stupor as a So Soporific Springs, and then we play Hedron Crab, and we say, do you have Lightning Bolt on turn 1 here? Or, you know, Galvanic Iteration, Relay, whatever, not Relay, Iteration, whatever the burn is. Yeah, Discharge. I don't know. 3 energy. Alright, so they do kill one of our crabs. I mean, if we only had 1 crab, we wouldn't have made that play, but with 2 crabs, I think it's the play. So here we've got crab. Got Flooded Strand, and I'm just going to fetch now to not open out. Well, if I fetch now, they can potentially play a Murktide. If I don't fetch now, no, I'm not going to fetch now. They potentially can kill the crab in response, but I think I'd run that risk. Oh no, we do have the path. I should have actually allowed the Murktide. All right, they just go for the bolt. So now we're going to go for Meticulous Archive. So we'll see what we mill before we surveil. We hit a consign, preordain. I don't think I need that. I'm going to graveyard that. I could look for another land, but really I'd rather naturally find the other land so I can just play Atasha's. And they're playing a preordain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We do need to make a little bit more milling happen in order to have this Visions of Beyond turned on, which is something we definitely want. Archive Trap, not the best. I could cycle this Visions. With the Snapcaster, it might not be the worst to cycle the Visions. So yeah, let's cycle. All right, so we pick up another path. So we do have kind of a controlling game happening here. But we are in a little bit of a tricky spot where, you know, we did miss a land drop. So they've got a Soporific Springs. No fetch. We do have the trap to potentially get them on a fetch. I'm not going to play this crab yet. I'd rather play it when I have a land to play. And there's no reason to use the Snapcaster yet. So they're snap bolting us probably. So we do get to we could path the snap and then trap them. I think that's probably a little too aggressive. I mean, we do get to mill 13 cards, but like at what cost? Okay, they're surveilling. Crab is nice against Snapcaster just because it is a blocker. And we can take a couple hits here, especially given the amount of removal we have, but we do just need to find another land. That is a land, so I'm going to play the crab. And they're kind of faced with the choice of countering this. You can play field. Mill 3. Again, we have double path for any sort of Murktide that comes down, so I'm not that scared about a Murktide. Okay. We're just going to let that go then. I kind of expect this crab to die, but we'll see. Okay, so they do have another bolt for the crab. It's a natural bolt out of hand. So it doesn't represent like an increased clock with another Snapcaster, which I would not like as much. So here I can think about pathing the Snapcaster and then trapping. And I think they likely have a counter spell for this. But if they use their counter now, then I potentially get to resolve the Tasha's. So I think I'm okay running this risk. Like if I run the trap into the path, A trap. I mean, they only have 3 cards. Maybe they have double counterspell. That's very possible. They fail to find. Okay. Oh, they just didn't search. Okay, sure. I'm pretty okay with that. So go to our turn. Pick up a Fractured Sanity. So I could cycle this. I could Field of Ruin. I think what I won't do is just toss Tasha's into this blind. So I think I'm just going to, wait, pass the turn. Go to our opponent's turn, maybe cycle on the end step, maybe Field Trap on the end step. We can think about some of the different options there. They're going for an Expressive Iteration, sure. They have tapped down a little bit, making it probably less likely that they have double counter. So they're playing Tamiyo from exile, sure. Another Tarn. So I think I like fielding their Thundering Falls here. They just let it go. We can pick up an island. Now they're fetching. And before they fetch, because they already searched, I'm going to trap them. Potentially this takes them off of double blue. Maybe they have Spell Pierce, and if they have Spell Pierce, then okay, they get us, but it's a risk to be willing to take. Okay, so they're down to 20 cards. We also potentially have Snap Visions next turn. Now they have double blue. Probably they would counter a Snap Visions, but we'll see. Ruin Crab. I don't think we have better than... Well, we could go for Tasha's, or we could go Snap Visions. I think I actually like going for Tasha's here, probably to meet a counterspell, but... Well, the alternative is like Cycle Sanity. I don't like that as much. Yeah, I think it's just Tasha's and then play like a control game. I expect this to get countered, but I think I'd almost rather be more confident in Snap resolving. Oh, is it going to be Invert Polarity? Oh, it's just Hardcast Force. Sure, that's better. And like this way, if they play a Murktide, we do have like potentially Path, Snap, Path, especially if we can find another land. There's just still a giant pile in the yard. They do get to attack with Tamiyo, but I feel like it's a little late for Tamiyo. They're drawing a couple cards. They do flip the Tamiyo. Okay, maybe it's not. I was going to say by the time they build up some clues and then flip it. They do get to bounce. No, they don't get to bounce yet. They have to tick it up. So that's not useful yet, although next turn it will be useful. They can buy back like a counterspell or a bolt or something. Go to our turn. Pick up an island, so we can like Crab Island, which I think I like. Make a little bit more progress happen here. And the question is, are they going to counter this? Based on this amount of time thinking, I kind of feel like they only have the one counter. Although maybe I'm wrong about that. Interestingly, we have yet to see a Murktide, and they only have 16 cards left in their deck. So either all the Murktides are at the bottom, or they had like, maybe they had like Murktide, Force, and an Unknown. They're going for Snapcaster, okay. So they're gonna snap maybe Counterspell. Oh no, Snap Stern Scolding it could be. Yeah, Snap Scolding, okay. They They do get to counter our crab. We play a land. Now we could just jam Sanity here. We jam Sanity. They mill 14. They're down to 2 cards. They can like buy back a Bolt. Can they kill us in 2 turns? Three, 4, 5. I think maybe no. I think I'm just gonna jam this Fractured Sanity. We do get beat if they have like Spell Pierce or I guess Force Pitch. Well, Force Pitch, it's not over for us. Pierce, it's kind of bad for us. Okay, so what happens? They're down to 2 cards. We hit 2 more Murktides. They have 2 cards left in their deck. 1 card left in their deck. 2, 3 Preordains. I'm trying to see 4 Preordains, so it's not a Preordain. 2 iterations. Hopefully they have something that's like an uncastable iteration. No, 3 iterations. They might not have another iteration. They're buying back a Bolt. They could have Bolts and then attack with Snap here. And that would put us to 1. Definitely a tense game here. So passing, go to our turn. We pick up Visions. Visions feels like a pretty good draw. I can maybe find another mill spell. Do they counter? They don't. We find land, which is triple land is like really bad. Okay. So we could shock ourselves down to 5. I think that's a bad idea. I think that's a very bad idea. We could field them off a red. I don't think that's really likely to do anything. The Tamio doesn't do anything anymore. We know they probably have Bolt, take us down to 1. And then we have potentially like Snapcaster to block their Snapcaster, plus a Bolt. I don't want access to the 2 pads because I think we just do need to live 2 more Bolts here. We don't have like a 1-mana mill spell or anything to flashback with Snapcaster. So I think maybe the other option is we go for like a Snapcaster Visions now. If we go for Snap Visions now, what can we hit that does anything? The problem is I don't want to burn the Meticulous Archive on that because I need to hold up the white for Path. And so what else could I hit? I mean, I could hit like Trap. I think I'm better off just trying to survive the turn. I can Snap Visions on their turn if I need to. And we're just going to pass. Let them put us to 1. They might have another Snap, actually. That would... Wait, 1, 2... They didn't end step anything, though? 3... If they have the 4th Snap, they can maybe get us here. I'm going to flash in a Snap of our own. And they scoop it up. All right, so they knew, I guess they didn't have anything beyond that. They knew we had the blocker, and then the double bolt wasn't good enough. So a couple things to note. It looks like they have 3 Snapcasters. It also looks like they only have a couple Murktides. Maybe 2 or 3 Murktides. I mean, they could have one in their hand. They are playing Stern Scolding. They're playing a bunch of removal. But they're not really playing much as far as like Spell Pierce. Or, yeah, I don't see a single Spell Pierce. So I think I'm not going to respect the Spell Pierce too much. They do have a couple subtleties as well. So I basically how I'm interpreting that is I can probably jam a little bit more aggressively in situations where I otherwise wouldn't really be able to. An ending, I also don't see any Ragavan, so ending for Tamio really alone, I don't think I like. The Jace, no, I think I feel pretty good about what this setup is. Chant does like excuse me, in some way counter Snapcaster. I think it's still not worth it there, though. So I'm going to keep this. We have like a potential turn 1 Preordain, turn 2 Crab Fetch. You know, so we can make something happen off of this. So they're going for a Preordain. The Watery Grave, you might be saying, oh, well, you know, this is blue-white mill. Why are you playing a Watery Grave? It's not as much for the potential to not pay life to a surgical, although that can sometimes happen. Because like if you have to pay 2 life to a Water Grave and then you use it, and then you use the black mana to pay a surgical, I mean, why not just pay the 2 life to the surgical? The real benefit is that you have a third color for prismatic ending. I think I want both of these. So I mean, we do just have like a nice multiple fetch setup, so we can, you know, play crab, play a fetch, get some mill in. That's a little bit hard for them to stop. And then I also like path on top for dealing with a potential Murktide. That means that if they only have 2 or maybe 3 Murktides, they just had both the Murktides game 1, which, I mean, sure, you know, sometimes they can have it. I also didn't see much actual counterspell, which is a little bit interesting. So here I'm going to play the Hedron Crab. Now they could have like Snare or something like that. Or not. Oh, Dispute. Okay. Don't think they had that last time. Unless I didn't, I might just not have noticed it in the yard, but I'm going to get a Flooded Strand out there. I actually probably should have played the Delta, but it's not a huge deal. We'll probably get our Surveil land here unless we need to path something, aka if they like, I don't know how they'd get enough cards in their yard anyway. Iteration. Fine. So this means we're probably going to just take the opportunity to jam Tasha's. They might force negation it, but I'm okay with trading 2 for 1 there. And, you know, hopefully we surveil into some more mill, because we are going to need a bit more mill. Snapcaster is nice, but... Okay, Flame of Anor that they can't play this turn. Do they have a land in their hand? They do. Alright, we're going to fetch and surveil. They might fetch in response. Looks like no. They're a little bit worried about trap, probably. Yeah, I'll keep a Fractured Sanity. So then we're going to go Delta. We'll fetch a basic island. And I'm going to go for Tasha's here. Makes it potentially a little bit harder for them to play a Murktide if they were to have one. I know we do have the path lined up as removal, but, you know, still. I think the Tasha's... Given that they don't have that many high drops, I think the Tasha's, even with the Murktide still in the deck, is just totally fine. I maybe should have thought about boarding out a Surgical or 2. We'd hit 12 cards, which is slightly fewer than Fractured Sanity, but Fractured can be used uncounterably later, which I like. We do take out a Murktide, take out a Tamio, Counterspell. Some reasonable stuff is hit. And they're down to 36 cards. They get the Surveil. And we do have, you know, this path ready as an answer. So I'm liking our spot a decent amount. We do need to find a little bit more mill, but, you know, we have a hand that is functional. They could have Snap Dispute or something like that from here. So this crab may meet a unfortunate fate. But if they do Snap Dispute, I can probably just resolve a Sanity. So I'm just going to run the crab out and see if it baits some sort of counter. They're okay, sure. I can put it on the bottom. So I'm going to play the Flooded Strand, and I'm just going to jam a Fractured Sanity. And this does represent a clock, but I can probably force a snap or force a path through on it next turn. And then they might have force negation here, but again, something I'm willing to risk. And they don't. There's one force in the graveyard now. One bolt in the graveyard. They could have a very bolt heavy hand, which would be a little bit unfortunate. I probably am in a spot where I will need to path this subtlety. I think I'd rather do it sooner rather than later, given how they kind of can just win out of nowhere with like snap bolts and stuff. So I don't want to get too low. Pick up a crab, not the best draw. I think I'm just gonna go for this now, because if they interact too much on it, I probably get to resolve this Fractured Sanity. If they don't do anything and just let it okay, they're pitching Force Pitch Counterspell. That feels very bold. I guess they're maybe figuring they have, so if they have like Snap, Bolt, our face, Bolt our face, swing 5, that's still not quite enough. Do I want to just jam Fractured Sanity into this, or do I want to cycle Fractured Sanity? I could like play a Ruin Crab as a potential blocker for a Snapcaster. If I cycle Fractured Sanity, what am I hoping to hit now? They could also have Galvanic Discharge, they have none in their hand. I could also like snap Preordain or something. Don't think I like that as much. If they have like Discharge, Bolt, Snap, Bolt. That feels like a very aggressive play from them. And they just want to preserve the subtlety. I think I like playing the crab as a blocker. And then probably cycling this Fractured Sanity. But maybe holding back the Snapcaster to use as a blocker if I really need to. Although if that happens, the question is, how am I winning? I guess it's cycle Fractured Sanity into a land and then have another 3-mana mill spell. So there are ways that I could win that. So that I think that's better than Fractured Sanity first. Try and hit the what's it called? Hit the you can't think of the word. Hit the land for the crab with the Fractured. They're snap bolting. All right. I would like to be able to potentially snap Fractured Sanity. I'm going to take this. We go to 9. They have 2 more bolts that actually just kill us, but they only have 1 card in their hand right now. 5. 1 bolt is 8. We do have to think about, what are the chances that they have 2 bolts in their 2 cards here? I think not that high. So I think if I take 5, go to 4. So if I block with Snapcaster, I potentially save 2 life, I go to 6. They still have, I'm assuming, 1 more bolt. And then we're dead in 2 turns. Like, we're dead 6, bolt us to 3. Does it buy us a turn? Hang on. Snapcaster block. They bolt us to 6. We take 3. We go to 3. Next turn. No, we're dead on their next turn anyway. So I'm just going to take this. And if they do have the double bolt, like they top decked the remaining bolt and they have 1 in their hand, then they just get us. We're going to cycle. And what we're really hoping for is that they have like something not that useful in hand. Okay, there's a bolt in the yard. We do pick up the land, and this does let us Snapcaster Fractured Sanity. Cephalid Coliseum is not a card I want to play. So I think I'm just going to go for Snapcaster. And if they have like a counter spell, then they get us. And if they don't, then we get them. So we're going to target Fractured Sanity. That does mill 14 cards, and they have 14 cards left in their library. We could have gone for the Cephalid Coliseum draw and discard. If we didn't pick up if we didn't have the Fractured Sanity. I think that's just more risky because like we need to sort of naturally draw the mill spell. Do you have a counter spell? I guess we're not dead on board if they have the counter spell because we get to block the Snapcaster, potentially go to 1, but I think it's very, very likely that we are dead if we or if they counter this. So I just, based on their plays, I feel like I have the read on them having a bolt. The question here is, do they have 2 bolts? Or snap bolt. They could have another snap. Looks like maybe no. What do we hit? We hit more Snapcasters. Well, there's 4 bolts gone on their upkeep. The game is over. All right, that was a tense match against blue-red Murktide. Or I guess it's almost really more so blue-red wizard. It's like somewhere between wizards and Murktide. But you know, tense match, we got there. Definitely some close games. Let's get the next one, hopefully. Okay, so we're on the draw with a hand that has a whole bunch of expensive cards and only 1 non-blue land, so this is going to have to be a mulligan. This is a little bit better. I wouldn't exactly call it exciting. I'm going to ditch one of these preordains. I just don't think I'm going to have as much time to keep messing around with preordains, especially on the draw here. Opponent leads on Sacred Foundry and Goblin Guide. Okay. Not exactly great for us. And we can potentially... Ooh, okay, Archive Trap is good. The question is, do we untap the Watery Grave to play a Preordain? I actually don't think we do. I'd rather not lose the life. Yeah, I don't think we can afford that, really. Trap does potentially give us a chance here with this Visions. Maybe we can, like, trap them and then, I don't know, do something useful with the Visions. They're spiking us. They're going to hit with Guide. They're down to 3 cards. We get a Flooded Strand. We pick up a Sink into Stupor. That's not as good, but potentially it could save us in a situation where we need it to. I'm going to go Field of Ruin and probably cycle a Sanity on the end step. They're fetching a Surveil, I would imagine. So let's see what they surveil. Do they put it on the top or the bottom? They put it on top. We're going to mill it. They have Flame Rifts. They've got Goblin Guide. We got 3 of their Flame Rifts. Amped Raptor, Eidolon. So they're a little bit more of like a creature-based version of this. So they do pick up a 4th card. Go to draw. They're playing an Eidolon. So that's gonna happen. Attack us. We have a Hedron Crab on top, which I like. Now I'm gonna cycle the Sanity. They mill some more. We draw the crab. Go to our turn, draw for turn. Surgical, not a card you want to be playing against burn. They do have 34 cards left in their library. So I'm going to take the 2 to play the crab. Assume the crab is going to either be able to block something or eat some removal. So I think that that is worth it. And I want to get the double mill here. Mill for 6. And then I'm probably going to just hold sanity here. Like, hold sanity for cycle. Really, my win condition, I think, is just drawing Tasha's. I live this turn, which is not guaranteed, and then draw Tasha's. Path on top. If I take 4, they do have a Flage in the yard. 4 Flame Rifts are gone. We are dead to Boros Charm or dead to double Bolt. If we block, we are potentially not dead to Boros Charm. Although the Eidolon is probably still just going to kill us. I guess cycle another sanity here first and see what else we mill. Do we get any more info about what they could be playing? Play with fire. How many bolts are there? Lava spike, lightning bolt. There's a lot of potential bolts that they have. Question though is, how do we win if we chump? How do we win if we... Alright, so what's our path to winning? They have 23 cards. Let's say we untap, we play the Sink into Stupor as a land. Because I think it's almost guaranteed they have 3 damage in hand. So if we don't block, play the Sink into Stupor as a land, Field of Ruin them, we mill 6, which is just not even close. So does this crab really enable a win? The problem is, if I don't block, take the damage with the bolt, I kind of need to be playing a 3-mana mill spell no matter what, and that's not enough to win me the game. So I think I need to block. And I'll block the Eidolon, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're passing, so that we're not immediately dead, which is some decent news. We do get to try with the Tasha's here. And if they have a Boros Charm, they kill us. If they have double 1-mana burn, they kill us. Do we have any other options? I don't think so. I think it's just we have to jam the Tasha's. Surprised they played nothing. I think we're very likely dead here, though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I expected it, but this is the only play that potentially wins us the game from this spot. Everything else is just a losing play, so we kind of didn't have a choice. All right. So I mean, being on the draw there definitely was not to our advantage. Surgicals are not a card we want against burn. I will take more removal. Paths, ending. What else? Consign, no. Soul Guide, no. Bridge, no. Chant can occasionally be useful, but still probably no, especially on the play. We're just looking, it's really just a race. We just need to kind of outrace them. This is not exciting, but it does have a Tasha's. I'm gonna keep it. I'm not sure that I should keep this, but I'm actually probably gonna fetch Preordain on turn 1, just to try and preserve life as much as possible. I don't really want to use the Cephalid if I can help it. And I mean, this is a little worse if we find a crab later, but I don't think I can really afford to take the damage. Path is like okay as a pickup. They've gone up to 66 cards. They've got a Swift Spear. Pick up Visions. I'm gonna go for a Preordain here. I'm gonna bottom a Path. I could Cephalid play Crab, which is the wrong order, and the Crab is just gonna eat removal, but it does potentially gain me life. So I think I'm gonna do it. I fully expect this to die, but it's something I can do with my mana that potentially saves me a little bit of life. And they're lava spiking, so they attack for 4 here, put us to 10. I'm not gonna chump with the crab if they're not gonna make me, or like not gonna if I don't know. All right, I don't know what I'm saying. So we're gonna mill them a little bit more. Volcanic Fallout. Interesting. Soul Guide. Why is Soul Guide? I mean, Soul Guide. I guess maybe it at least draws a card, and it's just an extra card to have in their deck. So in that sense, it's reasonable. I could field them and then path one of the Swift Spears, but I think I just maybe I do want to play it a little bit more interactively here. So yeah, if I field, path a Swift Spear. Well, I could field and then path a Swift Spear on upkeep. They could potentially bolt the crab in response, but if I, well, yeah, no, I am going to do it this way. They potentially can get a, can get another mountain here. We are at 9, so we do need to be a little bit mindful of this, but I did want to just make sure we're getting this mill with the crab in. We take them off of white, which might be useful. And I will probably block here if given the opportunity to do so. They've got a Barbarian Ring. We'll block. They're bolting our face, sure. What else do you got? Okay, so now I'm going to path this Swift Spear. They chose not to find. Okay, so we... Okay, so it's an Eidolon. Thinking we're in trouble here. We do pick up a Flooded Strand. I mean, there's certainly more than 20 CMC in their deck. That's going to put us down to 4. Yeah, we're dead here. We're definitely dead. No, it's going to put us down to 3, and then we're dead. And I could snap path the Eidolon. That just kills me. Well, it puts me to 1, but then Barbarian Ring kills me. Yeah, I mean, we can check that this is not gonna kill them, or check if this is gonna kill them, but it's not going to. Yeah, it only took 18 cards. All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that just didn't quite work. All right, next round. Okay, so this time we are on the play. We have a nice crab-heavy hand. Unfortunately, no fetch land, but definitely going to keep this. I'm going to lead on crab. When you have so many crabs, you just need to kind of get them out, and if a crab eats removal, then okay. It's worth the risk. Opponent has mulligan to 6, Devourer of Destiny, so they're probably playing Eldrazi. We're going to play a Hedron Crab. One nice thing about Eldrazi, they don't have that much removal for crabs, which is good. Now, we do need to be mindful of them potentially having like a Eldrazi Titan. I see Ulamog. The new Ulamog, but that's exiled. Kozilek's Command and Eldrazi Temple also exiled. They've got Nugin's Labyrinth. They put the Devourer of Destiny behind it, and they're passing. Fetchland is a wonderful pickup. We're going to play another Crab, play a Delta, stack both the triggers. Thought Knot, Talisman. Okay, they do have an Emrakul. It's a good thing we hit it early. And in order to fight that, basically our only option at this point is going to be hitting it with Atasha's. They are playing Breach, and I'm going to play another Ruin Crab. Potentially, we can get them to 20 and then draw with Visions or something like that. Do they have a turn 2 Thought Knot? They do. All right. They have a little bit of a choice here. I mean, Visions is not the best right now, but Sanity is our mill spell. And so, hey, they do take the Visions. Pick up another Crab. So we can go Crab and go Hallowed Fountain. We'll pay the 2 life. We're going to mill him for 12. Hopefully not hit the Emrakul. All is dust. Okay, we do hit an Emrakul again. Lovely time. And I'm just going to pass and probably cycle the Sanity on the end step. We're probably losing this game. I mean, turn 2 Thought Knot and the Maindeck Emrakul is not great. Eldrazi. Is it a smasher? Looking like maybe. Oh no, it's, oh yeah, they would have already used it if they did. Okay. They make some Scions and exile a spawn. Or make some spawns and exile a Crab. Alright. That's kinda could be worse. That's fine. Mill a bit, draw a card. Picking up the path is decent. You can hit this Thought Knot Seer. So we draw. They got a land. We pick up Atasha's. So here we kind of just have to mill 18, hope we don't hit the Emrakul, and then Tasha's them, hoping that we do hit the Emrakul. And that's just the die rolls that we are taking. And we do hit the Emrakul. Okay. Well, we do get to mill them for another 9. Maybe this time we don't hit the Emrakul. And get an island. And they have a lot of high cost cards in their deck, so we're not that likely to hit the Emrakul. Oh, they have 2 they just have like 4 Emrakuls. Yeah, we're super dead. Super dead. Unless we found Surgical, but no. What did we hit? We hit Kozilek's Commands, no Emrakul. We're dead. We're absolutely dead. We need running Tasha's, and that's still not going to be enough. Not a breach. Could be a Myco spawn. Yeah. Alright, so they're probably going to eat our Hallowed Fountain, yeah. They get another land. Like I said, it just probably has to be running Tasha's, but this is not a game that we're going to win pre-board. This is the multiple Emrakul deck is not a good matchup for Mill. One Emrakul is one thing, a pile of Emrakuls is something else. And a cycle. I know we could just hardcast it there, but we need to draw cards. Okay. Maybe had we found a surgical earlier and then like surgical the Emrakuls, that could have been a chance. But I think it's just not happening at this point. All right. They've exiled one of our crabs. Honestly, I'm relatively okay with that because it just means that they're not hitting the crabs are not milling Emrakul like when we play lands to just develop. Ending is kind of awful here. I'm gonna cycle Sanity. There's another Emrakul. Jace is not it. All right, I'm gonna scoop it up. Save everyone a little bit of time. Okay, so Soul Guide Lantern, definitely something we want. Surgical for the Emrakuls, definitely something we want. Ending, this is not as much about ending. Path for some of the, like a Thought Knot or a big guy, yes. Consign and Bridge are both kind of interesting. Consign counters like one Emrakul trigger. Oh, actually, no. We can use this for the colorless spells, though. That's better. Preordains, no. Given that we're having to exile, we're going to be needing to exile the Yard. I think I'm not as into Visions either. And then... Bridge can be good. Yeah, I think I like Bridge also. This is like a lot of cards, though. We're diluting our deck a lot. Do I want Snapcasters? The Snapcaster is good, but I don't want to really cut more mill spells. I think maybe we actually do cut the Snapcasters. Cut a couple, maybe we just cut all the visions. And we cut like one land. Or maybe one surgical. And we do need to hit the Emrakul though. But if we don't have a crab heavy hand, hitting the Emrakul is questionable. I think we just need to hope we have a crab heavy hand. This matchup just feels bad. We can ditch maybe we ditch one crab. Go like this. And Snap Consign is good. I don't want to dilute the deck more. I don't feel like we can dilute the deck more. Oh, we're on the play. One land. We do have some of our hate. Is this like a one-lander that can win? Honestly, one of the better one-landers given the Soul Guide Lanterns, but if I get a Surveil land on turn 1, I'm going to keep it. Get a Surveil land on turn 1 and hopefully go from there. I think it's a little bit sketchy, but like there's a way where if we get a couple running lands, this hand can conceivably win. And there's definitely hands that we have that just can't win at all. So we can get the archive. We're gonna bin a Consign to Memory against Eldrazi, which feels insane. We just absolutely need the land. Okay, we do hit it. I'm gonna go crab. I'm gonna go strand. We're gonna hope we don't mill an Emrakul in the top like 6. Get an island. And then we can get the Soul Guide into play. Okay, they do hit an Emrakul, but it's not like the worst time for it to happen. We got a Soul Guide in. And, you know, I'll exile Flooded Strand, whatever. Okay. It's not the worst. Not the worst. We could have waited on that extra mill and then potentially like played the Soul Guide the next turn. So it was an option. Not sure how I feel about that. We don't draw land, we're probably just main phase cycling the Fractured Sanity, trying to hit another land. And we're hoping to work our way towards the Jace. Okay, so they get a spawn, sure. Do you pick up Trap? It's kind of good. Picking up another Sanity is not what we need, though. This could be a Thought Knot. Or feels like a Thought Knot. Unless they're going back and making green mana. And then it could be Myco Spawn. Okay, so they're making a Talisman first. Then probably Thought Knot. Thought Knot isn't good, but I mean, they probably have to take our path in that case. Yeah, this is definitely a Thought Knot. Yeah, so they have to take path, basically. So could be worse. You can potentially get somewhere with like, yeah, like Trap, Sanity, Jace, if they don't put on much more of a clock. They take the path, yeah. We do pick up an Otawara. I could just Otawara jam Fractured Sanity, which I think I just like. We'll use the Soul Guide, so we eat 2 Emrakuls here. We have another Soul Guide ready to go. We're going to take a couple hits from this Thought Knot, and I think it's likely that they're just going to clock us a little bit too fast. They have 4 more cards in their hand after this. And, I mean, they're just going to play some threats, and we're going to die before we get to develop the rest of our hand, I think. 6, Myco Spawn probably. That would be bad. Yep. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens. They do search for a land, so we do get to trap them. The only problem is, if we trap them here, we potentially are hitting another Emrakul, but I think it's a risk we have to take at this point. We did get rid of 2. Okay, we do hit them. Like, we're not winning that game if we don't trap them there, so the play is to try to trap them there. They have 7... Yeah, they have 7 mana in seven, not 7 mana, 7 attack on the board. So it's a 2-turn clock. Even like land Jace 18 is not, or land Jace 15 is not enough. We're still very far away. I mean, had that trap lived, then they have 18 and maybe land Jace 15, and maybe if they drew a card or 2 or something, there's a chance. but probably not. Another Myco spawn. So basically it has to be path off the top. And even then it's probably not enough. It's like path, thought not. And then we can potentially live one more turn. What are we hoping to draw? This is another thought knot. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's gonna do it. So definitely a pretty tough matchup. The quad Emrakul deck. So let's just go to the next one. Yeah. All right. On the play with a pretty solid hand. I'm definitely gonna keep this. Revealing Devourer of Destiny. Hey, hopefully it's just like Eldrazi Tron and not through the breach. So I'm going to go Island. I'm going to go Preordain here. Surgical is an important piece of this, so I'm going to keep both of these. And this is probably our only chance to win game one. We have to hit Emrakul early. We have to surgical it. And, or, I mean, if it's breach with Emrakul. Maybe it's like regular Tron and they don't have Emrakul, but, you know, we'll see. Forest, so that could be anything still. Utopia Sprawl. Interesting. Chosen color is green. That's interesting. I'm not sure which version of Tron plays Utopia Sprawl. So we will mill our opponent a little bit. World Breaker, sure. And get a Meticulous Archive. Put that under the mill. Field of Ruin. Yeah, I'll take a Field of Ruin. Got a couple Eldrazi Temples. 2 World Breakers gone. We're looking at, I guess, well, okay, Ugins, sure. They could have a Thought Knot. Thought Knot on our Surgical would be a little unfortunate. The Devourer is behind it. But this is not Breach, I don't think. I think this might just be regular, like regular green Eldrazi. Or like Eldrazi Tron, basically. So they may not actually have Answers main deck. Okay, so nothing in combat. Go to our turn. Pick up the Field of Ruin. So we could go Coliseum Sanity. We could field something. Don't think I like fielding something yet. We could also surgical something before we Sanity. I think we should Sanity regardless. The only thing is field does take them off of this Ugins Labyrinth. They do just have a pile of mana anyway. So I think I like Sanity. And then I think the biggest threat to us is honestly Myco Spawn. So if we can hit a Myco Spawn off of this and then surgical it, that's something I'm interested in doing. We did hit 1 Myco Spawn. So I'm going to cast this, targeting... Okay, no, I'm going to upkeep Myco, surgical their Mycos, or draw step, surgical their Myco Spawns. Yeah. Because I don't think they have Maindeck Emrakul. And Myco Spawn is potentially how we get knocked out of this game, I think. Like, just kicked Myco Spawn and we end up too low on lands. They do have the ring. They have 2 copies of the ring. Stirrings, Foothills. No reshuffle Eldrazi. Okay. All right. They can sort of chain some rings potentially. You do get to just like play a Jace and start ticking it up for whenever they can't chain rings anymore. Kinda like that. Could also Cephalid ourself. I don't think I like that as much. They're playing a ring, yeah. What did they find off Stirrings? They found a Kozilek's Command, okay. And they drew a card. They're going to be low enough on cards that Jace is just going to be a one-shot whenever I play it, so I think I actually don't like playing the Jace as much. What our draw step? We have field, so we could field trap them on their turn after the ring's protection has worn off. I like that a lot. They're going to draw some cards here. That's going to put them down. So 2 more cards is going to put them down to 19. This represents 13, potentially 14 if they search. So I'm going to let them Stirrings. I'm going to let them kind of keep drawing cards. They're probably going to play another ring. So they go for an Ugin's Labyrinth. They exile something to it. Maybe play a World Breaker. Talisman, sure. It's not that consequential. Another Talisman. They have to play another ring, I think. And otherwise, Jace minus... Well, oh no, the Jace is only 15, but still. No attacks. They were playing all of that pre-combat. I mean, we know they're not attacking anyway, but that's really bold to not play the ring. I guess they're holding up Kozilek's Command. But... oh no, that feels weird to me. So I'm going to field their Labyrinth. We can get an island. Then we can trap them. Now they have 4 cards left in their library. And we can go to our turn. We have Tasha's, or we could play Jace. I'm just going to play the Tasha's because why not? And they're out of cards. Unless I missed something, I think they're done. All right, we get game number 1. So against like E-Tron, they may not have a reshuffle Eldrazi. I definitely want the consigns. So actually one of my biggest concerns is just like a fast Myca spawn that sort of takes us out. Path, yeah. Ending, we could hit various hate pieces. I think that's not that likely to come up. I mean, we could hit like a ramp card. I don't think ending is worth it on the whole here. Chant, I'm not that into. Bridge, potentially yes. Although they can pretty easily remove this. Do I think a game is going to stall out to the point where like bridge is good? Maybe. Cards I don't want. I mean, again, having not seen an Eldrazi, I'm not as into going in with like the soul guides and the surgicals, and it seems like most lists are not playing a reshuffle. They could be, but I think given we're up a game, I'm okay with risking that for game 2. Surgical, I mean, hitting Myca Spawn is nice. They do actually kind of only have a limited number of threats. Do maybe want bridge. Yeah, so I'll take bridge. I'm gonna trim a surgical. Maybe we still leave like 2. Shave the preordains because they're just like an easy cut. And we can shave maybe we do just fully cut the surgicals. And we could cut oh, Tasha's is not that good here. Yeah, Tasha's is actually pretty bad here. So if we cut the Tasha's, maybe we leave like 1, maybe we leave 2 surgical and a preordain. Go like that. Okay, and we have bridge, we have some lands, we have a path. It's a little bit of a slow hand, but I am going to keep. I'm going to play a Delta. We're going to fetch for Surveil land on turn 1. Opponent has not a whole lot going on yet. Sanctum of Ugin, sure. Talisman, yeah. This could be a turn 3 Thought Knot, perhaps. Go for the Archive. Field of Ruin. Field is like not that good here. It is good in general. We'll make them search. I'm going to keep it. Just going to play Island. Pass. Maybe make them think about like a counterspell or something. If they have Seer, we can path it. They might play a Myco Spawn for ramp. Then, you know, we starting next turn have options like Field, Trap, or things like that. Well, they didn't hit a land, it looks like. We go to our turn. Maybe should have, well, no, I kept the fetches in case there was like a crab. I could play Plains Bridge. And then when they Thought Knot us, they can't, at least the bridge is already in play. Yeah, I'll play bridge. I've drawn a lot of land. Probably they take the path here, but not guaranteed. This is something that they will have to kill. Probably. Take a card, land, trap. Blood Moon. We do have basics. Blood Moon is certainly something. I should have been playing the fetches. Who would have thought? Do you get to just like play Jace and start ticking him up? They probably aren't playing Smasher, so I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay just playing Jace here and starting to tick him up. And then, you know, maybe we do a big mill or something. Hopefully we can hide behind this bridge a little bit. If they play a creature we care about, we have Path. Their stuff is somewhat turned off as well, although they do have Mind Stone and Talisman, which is a little bit annoying. They could maybe... They can't Myco spawn us easily enough here. Playing the Ring, sure. They do get to draw a bunch of cards. We've drawn 8 million lands. Hedron Crab, alright. I mean, that's something that we can play that does something. Mills 3. And, oh wait, they have the Ring, never mind. Well, it's still not bad to get a few cards in our yard. Bridge, Trap, not really cards we need. This potentially lets us mill enough that we can draw some cards with Jace too. They're drawing more. Another Ugin's Labyrinth. They've got a Myco spawn. They're exiling our island. That's definitely annoying. We do have an interesting choice here to make of like, when do we stop? Oh, I can actually trap them here. I will trap them here. I revealed another ring. Okay. At some point we're going to want to draw some cards to Jace, but maybe not yet. Taking out our island is pretty annoying though, because it does mean we maybe aren't going to be able to get cards out of our hand as easily. And it's possible this Myco spawn gets to attack. Which would not be cool. Think into Stupor. Not that useful here again. Mill them 3 more. Go to 17. And I'm going to plus on the Myco spawn with the Jace. So one more turn of mill with the crab, and we do get to potentially draw with the Jace if that's what we want. Jace also represents a mill 18 at the moment. Next turn he'll represent a mill 21. Ulamog would be a concern, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana right now. They're still a little bit away, but that's something that could kill Jace. There's also, if they have Devourer of Destiny, that's something that could kill Jace. If we lose Jace, I would say we're unfavored. And actually, this could be Devourer killing Jace. Okay, they're killing the Hedron Crab. 2 more tokens. Alright. Got 18 cards. Feels like maybe they're working towards an Ulamog. We have to think about what we're going to be doing with that. Well, they might play another ring here also. Yeah, I mean the big concern is definitely Ulamog. So now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get a new ring, use it. We could just mill them 18 down to 14. Oh no, not with the ring, never mind. With the ring we have fewer choices. Our choice is basically just plus on the Micah spawn and hope that they don't kill out Jace. Second ensnaring bridge would have also now been interesting the way this game develops, because if they kill these, then we can just like jam another bridge. So far, not drawing a card. Visions of Beyond, not a card we can play. Play Field of Ruin. We'll plus our Jace, which is, I mean, it's not worth minusing milling ourselves or anything like that. And yeah, we're gonna hope that they don't have the Ulamog, but I think they likely have the Ulamog, and that will kill us. Well, maybe not, and we get to path and we get to sort of flounder for a little bit more, but effectively it kills us. Oh, it's Devourer. Okay, well, they're hitting the Jace, but this still doesn't answer the bridge. The ring timing was annoying. Had they not played the ring, I would have popped the Jace to do something. There's also the possibility we just keep drawing enough blue cards to the point where we can't get cards out of our hand and then they kill us, which would be a little bit unfortunate. Though they seemingly need to work towards the Ulamog, maybe. We do at least have a lands to play with Sync so that we keep our hand low. We can path here, and we will, given the opportunity. Could have thought about pathing a spawn. It wouldn't have worked out, but that was a potential way to stop an Ulamog. Although they would have definitely just had another land, so maybe it doesn't make sense. They have a World Breaker. Alright. So that's going to resolve. I'm going to path the Devourer. And we need to really just find, I mean, we do have the path for the World Breaker, but we need to find another bridge soon. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Or a way to get rid of this Blood Moon. That's not a way to get rid of the Blood Moon. All right, we're passing, and we're going to path the World Breaker on their turn. Still not using the ring, which I think is probably the right call. It's kind of crazy that Eldrazi, the colorless deck. I mean, yes, they have some green things, but like a colorless based deck that cares about its lands is playing Blood Moon. That's ridiculous. Okay, the life gain doesn't matter. They're going to attack for 8. I'm going to path the World Breaker, just preserve life, and then I'm going to need to find another path for this Breaker of Creation. I know we're like dead next turn if this hits, but like if I path the Breaker, I'm still dead next turn either way, so it's a 2-turn clock either way unless we find something right here. That's not going to do it. All right, so that was game 2, right? Yeah, so we have game 3 to play. So, prismatic ending, maybe. A little more into prismatic ending now. Not really into surgical basically at all. I mean, can still hit a Myca spawn. Maybe it's better than like 1 preordain. I think we just go like this. We can potentially hit some of their accelerants. I like this a little bit better on the play too. This hand is okay. I'm going to keep it. We have turn 1 archive, turn 2 crab fetch. Will I keep a sanity? Don't think I need another sanity. I think I'd rather find something that like interacts a little bit better. Yeah, I don't think that's what I need. They've got an Ugrin's Labyrinth. They're playing a Mind Stone. Go to our turn. Do they have like a turn 2 Blood Moon next turn? Hopefully not. That'd be pretty tragic. They could have turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. We're going to go Crab, Flooded Strand. Then if we get to field them next turn, we will almost certainly field them. Not really sure what they're waiting for on our upkeep like this. Evidently nothing. I'm actually just going to go ahead and do this now. We do mill a Blood Moon, which is interesting. We mill a second Blood Moon. Why is this even possible? This should not be possible. This is a sign of something not healthy in the format when Etron is playing Blood Moon. I mean, ultimately this deck is not too strong. This is probably not something that's going to get quote unquote fixed. But I still just sort of viscerally hate it. Why? Why is this happening? No. Upkeep, so we do get to field their Labyrinth. They do get to return the card to hand, though. Unless they're maybe thinking about eating our crab with a K command. Different sort of K command. Usually that means Kozla or Kolaghan's command. Yeah, so we have some choices. We could play crab, fetch land. We could hold up Sink into Stupor. We could play field their Uggin's Labyrinth. I think that's maybe the most aggressive play, which I think I like. Stonebrain against Mill feels strange. Not sure what they're hoping to hit with it. And I'm going to get another basic island. And I think I'm going to play... No, I'm not. Because kind of no matter what I do, I'm probably either playing Sanity or holding up Sink next turn. So I'll have 4 mana to play Crab and then have it be more insulated with the Flooded Strand. So they've got 2 lands. They find a third. Got a Utopia Sprawl. And they've got a Blood Moon. All right. Definitely interesting. I mean, you could argue it maybe sort of won them the game last time. But I don't know. What do we find? We find a Flooded Strand. So I think I like Strand, hold up, sink into Stupor for Blood Moon. On the end step, they have an Ulamog. Why? That's so hateful. Do we even have answers to that? I think I boarded out like everything for it because I just didn't see anything like that in the second game. Lanterns are out. We have one Surgical. We need to just hope they draw it. Oh, that's so bad. All right. So this maybe changes what I'm doing a little bit. So I don't want to make the tempo play of using Sync here, I don't think. Maybe I do. I think maybe I do. Or maybe I cycle the Sanity. Just try and get some more cards. And I could Sync. And that does let me fetch a little bit more. Yeah, I think it is still worth it just to be able to fetch Island Plains and then just at least have a functional amount of mana. We're playing a Sprawl. The Ring. I'm just letting that happen again. I want to turn this Sync into having real mana. So my plan is going to be end step, bounce the Blood Moon. Go to our turn. Draw, and I get to play Crab, fetch, double fetch. And hopefully we don't find a... oh wait, yeah, they have a Ring. Well, I mean, 1-1. We mill some Blood Moons again. And is my... Oh, my island is gone. That's terrible. Forgot that they played the Ring. I don't know why. We milled our planes so we don't actually get the blue mana, which is very unfortunate. 2 Ensnaring Bridges gone. I could play a Sanity here, or I could cycle the Sanity. I think I'm more interested in cycling the Sanity. Visions is not where I want to be yet. Okay. All right, so presumably we're getting re-Blood Mooned here. Big chunk of our yard gone. That does open us up to like having some Snapcaster options. We have like Snap Path or Snap Trap, maybe. I think this game, if we win this game, it's going to be on the back of like card advantage with Visions. So it's probably going to be Snapcaster Visions. Is it going to be Myco Spawn? Oh, it's Devourer of Destiny. That's interesting. I don't think that would have... Well, maybe they figure we have the 3 islands. 13, 16, sure. We go to our turn. Visions would have only drawn 1 there. Shelldock. So I'm gonna... Do we have our Hallowed Fountain's gone? Plains is gone. We don't actually have any other fetchables, so I'm gonna play Shelldock, which is a little bit annoying because we still don't have a great use for this Visions. Like I'll take an archive trap, I guess. And it's going to be passing the turn. Do you get to clock us with the Devourer here? They draw too much. I mean, maybe we can hope that they draw the Ulamog with their ring. Got Kozilek's Return, sure. And they're going to get to hit us for 6 here. This does also put us in a little bit of a tricky spot with filling our yard for visions. We have 17 cards. Delta could be 18. They have 17. We could snap path this, which I think we should do. Maybe we win with damage. Yeah, it's not exciting. Let's see. I mean, they're searching for a land. They choose not to search. Okay, maybe they don't have another. Forest gone. Maybe they only had 3 forests. Go to our turn. Draw. Another path, which is dead in hand. I want to have... Oh, I just clicked through attacks. That was dumb. That was actually very dumb, given that, you know, hopefully combat damage is my win condition at this point. Although, I mean, it's not necessarily. Yeah, the mistake with the crab was very bad. I just forgot that they had the ring. And had to mill my own planes. I mean, even with that, it generally is right to mill yourself so that you have a stocked yard. So I probably actually would have made the same play, but then maybe the unfortunate part is hitting the planes. So actually, I kind of forgot, but it was the right play. But then we got unlucky and it turned into the very wrong play. Interestingly, they hit a mountain rather than one of the islands, which is kind of strange. They do find a land here. All right, so maybe combat damage was not the win con, but I mean 2 more, they would have been at 9 or at 11, 9 after the next ring. They're drawing more. Play a talisman. And they could have drawn the Ulamog. Double path is like the worst possible thing to draw here. I'm trying to just save this Visions for when I get 3 cards out of it. They could also have that life gain guy, which would be not great. Will I chump this? I think not yet. I have another Myco spawn. Okay. Sure. Will they draw more cards is another very potentially relevant question. Otawara would be a decent pickup in that we can, well, bounce the moon, but then what to what end? I mean, okay, we kill a Myco spawn. Another Myco spawn? This is so hateful. I mean, sure. I will chump here if given the opportunity. Get another card in the yard, I think. Yeah, and they're playing Quad Blood Moon. Quad Blood Moon. What? Alright, Hedron Crab. Something. Maybe I can, like... Nah, I mean, what is... I don't even know what I could possibly do here. It's just over. I might have been calling this Eldrazi Tron. It's worth noting that they're not actually playing the Tron, but it is effectively the Eldrazi Tron style deck. I guess you could more formally call it Red Green Eldrazi. I don't know if I was actually saying Eldrazi Tron or not. Red Green Eldrazi usually implies the Breach stuff, but it's not present here, so. Another ring. Okay. So our line is draw a land. No, it's not. It's just visions into the third ensnaring bridge. It just has. That's not even good enough. And we'll try it, but it's not good enough. Yeah. All right, we're gonna scoop it up. This is going rough. Not the best. Not the best league so far. All right, let's try and see if we can at least win the last round. Okay, round number 5. We have a hand that it's sort of okay. On turn 2, we can cycle Fractured. Turn 3, Field Path something. Probably draw another land and Tasha's. I'm going to keep it. It's not exactly exciting, but I think it's maybe at least reasonable. Pick up a Surgical, which is really not what you want to see. Well, maybe it's okay. Surgical against Delta probably is bad, but Thundering Falls. Build another Delta. Hit basic island. So it could be Murktide. Field. I mean, having Surgical for potentially if we hit a Murktide would be good, but I mean, double Tasha's not so bad. Consider not something I'm going to Surgical. They topped and drew their card. Still nothing. I'm going to cycle the Fractured Sanity. Okay, we hit Bolt. We hit Flame of Anor. Draw a Trap. Trap's a good pickup. I'm going to field these Steam Vents. They're snap bolting, it looks like. So here I'm going to Surgical their bolts. Definitely slows the clock. They have Thunder Trap Trainer, Flame of Nor, Counterspell, Expressive Iteration, Galvanic Discharge. Okay. You can take the bolts. Do they have any Murktides? No. They don't. The biggest thing that's eating CMC, Crackling Drake, Flame of Anor, Flare of Denial, Sink into Stupor. They don't have that much CMC in their deck. 6, 7, 8, 9. 21. Fire Ice is 4, 25. 40, 41, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 58, 59 CMC left in their deck. Okay. I'm going to get a plains. I'm actually not going to trap here because I know that they have the counterspell in their hand, so I don't want to run my trap into counterspell. They have Arena of Glory, which is a new pickup, and they play the Thunder Trap Trainer. And they grab a Stern Scolding. Okay. I think I'm willing to path here. Slow the clock. I do have another path for like a potential Drake. I trap here, they counter it, I get to resolve Atasha's. Oh no, I don't, because I don't have the... I thought I had the double blue. I was a little bit dumb. So here, I mean, I could resolve a Jace and uptick. Galvanic Discharge would be able to do 3 to me. Flame of Anor is only creature. 3. No, actually, I'd be at 4. The Jace. That feels a little risky. So, question is, do I cycle Sanity or do I think I'm cycle Sanity. I want another card. Picking up the island is good. And then we'll just stop there. The Stern Scolding doesn't do a lot. So I have Discharge, Iteration, Flame, Stern Scolding. Not gonna path this Otter in all likelihood. Yeah, I was thinking of just untapping, resolving Natasha. We do take out a decent chunk of CMC there, 10 CMC. So 49 CMC left. Iteration takes that a bit lower, probably. Pick up, or they reveal a Snapcaster. So what are they going for with this? Snap Consider, maybe? And then they have Stern Scolding, Discharge, and Flame. 2 unknowns, soon to be 3 unknowns. Consider's gone. They topped it. Okay. So we take 1 from the Otter. I could just mill for 18 with Jace, or I could resolve Atasha's. I think I like resolving the Tasha's. We take 11, but I mean, the Jace is lethal at this point. We hit... Yeah, we hit a good chunk of things. I have a path for, you know, if they have their last Drake. Did they have 4 Drakes or 3 Drakes? I actually don't remember. So they've got 7 cards. Only 17 left in their deck. Hopefully the Scolding rots in their hand, the discharge rots in their hand. I'll take 3 here. We're under less sort of immediate threat due to the fact that the bolts are all gone. Another Thunder Trap. See what they take. They take Flare. Okay. They probably have like hard cast Flare coming in here. Picking up another island is not bad. So I could field and then Tasha's. There's no real benefit to fielding though. I could preordain and then Tasha's and hold up path. I think that's what I like best. I'm gonna bottom both of these. Crab. So if I island, run Tasha's into Flare, let them counter it. Okay, they use their counter spell. They're holding up a Flare. So that's worth noting. So if they have a Drake, we are actually in trouble, because they can Flare to protect it from the path. By in trouble, I mean we're dead. Yeah, it looks like a Drake. Just gonna quickly path it and hope that they click too quick. But no, they're not going to. No, they Flare it. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean the double counter spell there, a little bit rough. We had good chances that game. I think I want more paths. Ending, I'm not as into. Surgical potentially takes out Drake. Bridge can also just block, or Bridge can like stop Drake from attacking. I think that's a little bit more niche. I mean, Surgical, they don't have that many threats, so if you can line up a Surgical and a threat, it's good. But I don't think I want the full 4. Chant can counter Snapcaster, but it's not like that amazing. Soul Guide can kind of do the same thing a little bit better. I think I actually just want to run it like this. Bring in the paths. Leave things pretty similar. This hand seems alright. It's not amazing. If this field was like a blue source, I would like it better. As is, the double visions is a little bit iffy. So with the 2 crabs, I'm going to go ahead and just play one here. And if it dies, it dies. And it didn't. Hooray. Oh, maybe on our upkeep. Okay, no. Surveil. Not sure why they didn't do that on their turn. If they do that on their turn, it gives us one less draw at potentially finding an archive trap. But they've got Obsidian Charmaw. That's interesting. We really only we're not going to have very many Field of Ruins at a time. I don't know about that. We could hit Thunder Trap. I think it's not needed. We do need a land here. If we don't hit one, I'll cycle Sanity. Surgical here, I'm going to try and line up on Drake, because that's sort of like the big threat. Don't hit a land. We do hit, well, we mill our Fractured Sanity. And we don't hit with that either. So I'm going to just pass here. Continue looking for a land. Looks like our opponent has Counterspell up. Land. Fetching. Docking. Okay. We draw a land. Perfect. Okay. We get to mill them a bit more here. They got a Flame of Anor, another Flare of Denial. Have some interesting choices here. So I could fetch again, and I think I will. And they could go for some sort of Snap Bolt, yeah, but we could Surgical in response once they target it. They should actually probably target Discharge in order to, yeah, because they'd rather us Surgical Bolt. Now the question here is, do I let this happen? I could also Surgical Snap Surgical, which I actually kind of like. I'm going to Surgical the Discharge. Keep the crabs alive. And so we only get the two. They have Counterspell, Counterspell, Spell Snare, Flame of Anor. Okay. That's good info to have. We can get the island. So we mill them 6 more. And I'm going to get to draw some cards here with Visions. Sorry, Visions. We have all of the Visions. All right. And then I'm going to pass and probably cycle this Fractured Sanity, although potentially hold up Snap Surgical. So I'm going to let that happen. I could also just Visions again. I think I like that. Just draw more cards, or they counter. Either way, I'm good. Another Flooded Strand, so fetch land is excellent. Feeling fairly favored from this position. Vidian Charmwall again. So in our main, we can fetch, mill another 6. Do they go for like a removal of some kind? Flame of Anor? Okay, so they're going for Flame of Anor. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. They're going to draw 2 cards. Now, I could... What's like a card that they don't have that many of in their deck? I've used 2 Flares, 2 Snapcaster. They could have more bolts. I think I like the idea of trying... There's potentially 2 bolts left. If I can get 2 cards out of their deck, then they draw 2 cards, they're down at 15. And then we sanity them down to 1 card. That seems pretty strong. Yeah, I think I like that. So I'm going to Surgical the bolts. Paying 2 life. And then actually, yeah, they're going to be dead. No, because they'll still take 3 mil from this. They're not going to die this turn, but when we pass to their turn, they'll die. So they've got Counterspell, Counterspell, Snare, Arena. It went down to 3 bolts, interestingly. So, alright. They got 1 card out of their deck. They take the crab. They mill 3. I'll get the island. And then it's Fractured Sanity for the win. Alright, so on to game number 3. We are 1-1 against like blue-red tempo, blue-red drakes. Not actually playing Murktide. Ending, not interested. Consign, I don't think so. Surgical, I might want 1 more surgical. Yeah, I think I like 1 more surgical. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe this is okay. Interesting that they have Spell Snare in their deck when literally all we have is 3 Snapcaster mages. Excuse me. This doesn't really have that much mill, but it can just kind of play an interactive game a little bit, maybe, between like surgical. So I'm gonna keep it. We'll find mill spells, I'm sure. Famous last words. Fetching on our upkeep is strange. It's like a thing you do in Legacy for like Stifle, but they should fetch on their turn if they're concerned about trap. You don't have to have trap right when your opponent has... Yeah, I'll keep this. Right when your opponent has the fetch land. Jace is good. Next turn, we're probably looking at Preordain. Maybe they're holding up mana here. Maybe they'll play Iteration. Looks like they're holding up mana. Alright, so I'll play a Preordain. Don't think I need either of these. I mean, the Snapcaster is okay, but I do need to start to find something that mills. Path would also be a good find at some point here. They're going for the Thunder Trap. And what do they reveal? They didn't? Did they whiff? I guess they whiffed. I'm going to get a tapped Watery Grave. Go to our turn. Crab is okay. I'd rather play the Sink into... I'll play the Otawara to potentially save life. I'm just going to try to resolve the Tashas here. And we get 12 cards. Take out a Flare, Dispute, 1 Drake. Nothing amazing. If they just play a Drake, we do have Sync for this. They go for another Thunder Trap. Get a Galvanic Discharge, okay. We have a Hedron Crab. I'm going to play the Crab. They figure they have the Discharge already lined up. Then I can play the Flooded Strand. We'll get a little bit of mill in here. I'm just going to not crack the Strand. When they go for removal is when I'll crack the Strand. They've got Torch the Tower in. Surprised they didn't attack with the Thunder Trap either. They're going to go for the Discharge. Now I'll fetch. Interesting. Are they going for another? Okay, no, they're just surveilling. And we'll do basic island here. We can hold sync up. Build them again. Spell Snare in the yard. We haven't really milled many high value cards. Hearse. How do I feel about Hearse? I can let it resolve. Attacking with the Thunder Traps. I'll take 2. And I could go for like Sync here on the Hearse maybe. I don't think I like that much. Don't think I like Snapcaster Preordain or anything like that. I could just cycle a Visions. I could also Jace next turn, but by Jace next turn, where am I really going with that? I think I like cycling the Visions. We're still a little bit far away. Pick up a Path. That's decent. Okay, I'll go to our turn. Trap. Okay. So I think it's just pass. And we potentially go for like a trap. We could have trap, path, sync. We have several different mixes of things up. First can eat some cards, that's fine. Have path to use on it if needed. They're eating their own yard. Trying to insulate themselves against surgical is decent, I guess. Swinging for 2. We want to take any actions here. We can potentially go for sync on the Hearse. If they counter, opens up a window to maybe resolve Jace. I could try that. Gives us maybe something to do with our surgical as well. If they counter, then yeah, it's fine. They counter, then okay, they don't. Sure. Then I'm gonna go for a path on one of the Thunder Traps. And then I can trap. They probably counter here, but again, we're getting a something to line surgical up with, which would be nice. The counter spell. Surgical the counter spell. Do they have another counter spell? They do. But did we know that? Yeah, I think we already knew that. I'm not 100% sure about that, but Hollowed Fountain. So here we can play it tapped. Play it tapped, we get to resolve Snapcaster Snapcaster Tasha's. We also could just resolve Jace now. Play it untapped, I mean we get to resolve Snapcaster Tasha's. They could also just have Flare. Jace represents mill 15. One of the 4 cards in their hand is the oh yeah, I think I need to Snapcaster now because they have the Hearse. So I'll target Tasha's. And then we cast Tasha's. Blue, blue, blue. Alright, so they've got 13 cards left. We did get Arena, so we don't need to worry about hasty threats. They've shocked in their springs. Playing a Drake. It's got 21 power. This is looking like, do they have another counterspell? Block. Snapcaster doesn't really have any other use. Might as well preserve life a little bit. They play the Hearse. We do have the Jace. If they have the flare, they have to sack their Drake now. They could definitely have the flare. Looking like they're sacking the Drake. There's no point to like play it for, or to play the land first, just because they don't have mana up for Spell Pierce, and there's no free. Ooh, and we get there. Our opponent said something. I didn't see what they said. Cringe deck, GG's though. Have a nice night. Interesting. All right. Well, we get there. We're 2-3. We beat blue red twice in some pretty, tight deck, or like tight matchups, tight games. A lot of like interaction. However, okay, so we ended up going 2-3 with this blue white mill deck. I thought it was okay. I mean, having sort of the path snap stuff I liked, especially I didn't feel like it was as critical to have the drown unlocks, and I actually didn't miss the counterspells that much. Preordain still felt kind of questionable to me. I don't think I like it. I think I would have rather these just been like 2 more paths and maybe another surgical or another snapcaster or something. But overall, I mean, the deck did what it was supposed to do. It milled people out. We had some fast starts. Losses that we had just felt like they were largely to things that we didn't have too much of a chance at beating anyway. Yeah, I mean, like I said, until the ban list, we're just kind of messing around, having a little bit of fun, and maybe we'll see some more updates there. I do want to be playing Legacy. I know I haven't played Legacy in a really long time, but I think the format is just not in a situation, or the format is not in particularly good shape right now. Modern, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff to test. I will, between now and then, probably play one more thing, or maybe we'll just get all the way to the ban list. But with the Nadu ban incoming, I'm still a little bit reluctant to commit too hard to whatever I'm gonna play in the upcoming Modern season. That might be the Gristlebrand deck. I'm not sure yet. Pioneer, I do have the RC coming up, so if you're gonna be in DC in October, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to anyone who watches and would like to stop by and chat. So feel free to reach out. I'll be at DC in October, but Amalia and vampires are making the format a slightly awkward place, and while I do need to test, I want to make sure that I'm testing the format that I'll be playing at RC Washington DC. So until next time, maybe go back, check out some of the other Modern videos we've had over the summer. We had a pretty cool run with Lotus Field in Modern recently. That might be one to go look at. You could also check out maybe the Ruby Storm or something if you're interested. Anyway, till next time, keep winning using win conditions that do not involve attacking with creatures, just like Mill or most of my combo decks. Bye, everyone.